Next up on the list, we got the Carolina Panthers. This is just a completely random order. This is just I made this list, and it's the teams that I just thought of first. So yeah, that's next up on the list. So they fired Frank Reich mid-season, and what a disaster that was. Which, if you go back to last year's coaching hires preview, neither of us were super high on him. They hired Dave Canales. I think is how you say his name. Is that correct? Dave Canales.
I believe so.
So I'm a little hopeful here. For whatever reason, I can't quit the Panthers. I can't do it. And I know I should because their owner's an idiot, but I have a B plus here for Dave. Which it doesn't really make any sense because he's never had any head coaching experience. He's really young, which doesn't really mean anything. I mean, Sean McVay was the youngest coach in the league and won the Super Bowl. So, but he doesn't also have a lot of offensive success outside of this past year with the Buccaneers. But for me personally, I just think it's a great fit right now. They need Bryce Young to develop. He didn't really do a lot last year. And I think that Canales can do it. He did benefit from Baker last year because I think Baker, he's just underrated. I'm a big Baker guy. We all know that, though. I think he benefited from people kind of sleeping on Baker. But I think this is just a great connection here, like a young coach, a young QB, just developing together almost. Any hire made by David Tepper, you can't be fully in. I think that's the only thing that was actually preventing me from making this an A- was the fact that David Tepper was the one who made the hire, and you just can't trust anything that guy does. Kind of a weird guy. If you look into his past, he's a little weird. If you look at some of like his relationships that he's been in, some of his entrepreneurship stuff that he's done, it's a little bit weird and upsetting, but this is the perfect comparison I could draw with this is the Cliff Kingsbury career. Good offensive mind, but I think the Panthers would take a Cliff Kingsbury coaching tenure at this point. A few good years in the playoffs, not really any Super Bowls though, which I think right now Panthers fans would take. But obviously, the problem with this organization comes from the top with David Tepper, and we all know that. I do think Canales lasts a little bit longer than previous Panthers head coaches do. I think he's going to have some playoff success maybe. Well, I think that's all you can ask for as a Panthers fan at this point. Just maybe hope for a miracle season like Cam Newton. But yeah, this roster's in a bad spot right now, and Canales, he's got his work cut out for him. But I have a B plus. B plus is the grade. It's a risky one.
It is, but if it hits, that'll make it pretty cool. I gave this a C minus, and I'm just gonna read what I wrote here. I'm giving Dave here a lower grade because you just talked about this. He's coming into a miserable situation that I don't think he can really fix, and I don't think that's really his fault. But that kind of falls into the line of it kind of starts at the top. The situation is such a mess. He doesn't have any experience in fixing a situation like that. So why is the grade not an F, though? Because I agree with you. I actually think he's a pretty damn good offensive mind. And but Dave is now a part of a bottom 3 organization as a whole in the NFL. And I really think he only has one job, Luke, and that's to fix Bryce Young. And I think he can help him tremendously. After last year, I don't think Bryce Young can be like a Hall of Fame type. I think that was kind of just wiped from the board almost. But he still has lots of potential. And at the end of the day, though, this team did need a new face. Obviously, the Frank Reich sadness face, that's just not going to pay off.
Yeah.
But there is a real there's a real stink on this franchise right now. I don't know if Dave can really bust him out of it. And I know you just said the only point that I really one point that I wasn't too sure if I completely agreed on you with is you said that you think that they're going to give Dave more time than some of the other coaches. And I'm just not so sure. I feel like if they don't see any real progress with Bryce Young this year and it's a disaster season, I think they'll fire him in 1 year. And they've been doing that a lot lately. And that's tough for Dave. That's pretty unfair if you ask me. But I think they're literally asking him to do one thing, and that's fix Bryce Young. And we'll see what dominoes fall into place if we fix Bryce Young. But if he doesn't do that, I think this might just be kind of like an in-between year where they just fire their coach after 1 year if it doesn't work out, which sucks. Like I said, it sucks for Dave, suck for Lovie Smith, guys like that. But yeah, and if Bryce Young doesn't work out, it's kind of like, so where are we going with this? What direction are we going? If we see no real big strides from Bryce Young this year, I mean, what do we even do? You know what I mean? I think there will be some strides, but it's kind of up to Dave. So, C
Yeah.
minus.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll fire him after 1 year because it's been in such a bad spot. I think right now you just need consistency. There's been no consistency in this organization for a few years now, and Frank was brought in. He was supposed to fix it pretty much instantly. I mean, they were 6-11 or something, like they were, just outside the playoffs the year before, and it's like, oh, if we just get that boost, maybe we can be a playoff team. That's what I mean. We both thought it. We both picked them to win the division last year. And it just didn't happen. And so I think and they're in a little bit of a different position than what they were last offseason, where it's kind of like, all right, now we're building towards the future. Like if we don't have a great season this year, that's fine. Just a little bit of progress to show that we're going on the right track. And I mean, any progress, I think will keep him at least for one more season. So
Yeah, but I think that progress literally, I don't even know if it has to translate to wins, like you're saying. I think it's the flip side. I think it just has to be competence, sure, but just progression in Bryce Young. I mean, you spent an arm and a leg, damn near a torso for that pick, And if it doesn't work out, I mean they're screwed. So, it already looks like they're screwed. So,
yeah, that
yeah,
trade is looking really bad right now.
yeah.
Yeah, tough. I mean, organization gets a D minus, if not an F, but this hire, it's a B plus for me because I think that, I mean, like I said, it's a good connection. I think he's going to build with Bryce Young, and if he can focus on that, just building him into an NFL caliber quarterback, then the rest will fall into place. I mean, that's really the most important part of an NFL organization is getting that franchise quarterback. So you got to see what you have in them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the truest point of it all is if you have a quarterback, you pretty much have a team. So